Welcome back, travelers. After you reach the end of the lightweight bracket, you find a Yoshi egg at the store, and then you hatch the Yoshi egg. It can use an ability to throw one of the heavy metal little spiky guys at the other, and that's how you get past their impenetrable armor.
Are you talking about Paper Mario Thousand Year Door?
Yeah.
It's good to see that you're still you, Joe. Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore, where today we are talking about Teferi. Teferi's finally shown up. We finally know what's going on. And basically, he just wakes up on a shoreline and is like, when am I?
Always a question you have to ask yourself when you're a time traveler.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And so he gets up and he's kind of confused because the place feels familiar, but at the same time it looks completely alien. The world, like on the distance, it just looks like there's a fog everywhere. And long story short, he is actually on. He's at Zhalfir. He's actually there. He's somehow, with the whole thing that happened with the Silex, he wound up in Zhalfir. And so he's wandering. Yeah, he's wandering around and he's kind of piecing it together. And he's noticing that the place is kind of like rotting. It's starting to decay. But what he discovers.
Do you mean that place has been gone for over 2,000 years?
Yeah.
That's weird.
But the thing is, it hasn't been 2,000 years. It's been like 80 for them.
Really?
Everyone from the time of Mirage is still alive and just really old. So like Magetta the Lion, all of it, basically everyone that was from that thing, they're all still here. They even still have the amber prisons that they are keeping everybody stuck inside of. That's how they would capture villains, essentially. Across the years, they would capture them like... what's his name with an M? Kervek. Not with an M. Kervek. The Merciless is what I was thinking. The Merciless.
We seem to pronounce that in different ways.
Yeah. Kervek. Yes. Okay, so basically Kervek is trapped inside one of those amber prisons. That's kind of the whole idea, is that's how they would deal with them. Because they didn't want to kill them. It was a whole deal. It's just how it worked. But basically, Teferi's doing his own deal, and he gets caught by this caravan of bandits, and they recognize him because, again, it's the same generation. They're like, "It's you!" It takes them a while to get it. One person is the one who does it, and they're like, "You know what? It does look like the guy who ruined all our lives. That's exactly who this is." And so Teferi's like, "Look, I'm sorry that this happened, but I'm here to try and fix it." And they're like, "Oh, you're gonna fix it now. You're gonna fix the problem you made. We were ready for the Phyrexians, and we've been like in a state of like that's the thing, is they're constantly in like a state of like war."
Well, I hope you guys are still ready for Phyrexians, because that's still coming.
Yeah, like they're in a wartime mindset, so that's like how everybody's set up. They're all very high tension, all basically at the ready, waiting for an attack at any moment. And while this is all happening, the leader of this caravan, Eshi, decides that they're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to kill Teferi. I'm going to get vengeance for the entirety of our people. And so they attack them, and Teferi's like, you really don't want to do this? And he just like, and everything stops, and the person's frozen in time, and they're like, come on. And Teferi just like kind of gets up very calmly, walks over, and he stands off to the side, and he goes, okay. And they phase back in, and he's like, can we talk, please? Like, do you need to do this again? Are you going to attack me? Oh, you're attacking me again. Okay. And so eventually,
the maniacs in the mailbox.
Yeah, essentially. And so basically all this happens, and Teferi kind of just, he goes off to live on a farm. And he spends the next few months on the farm. Mm-hmm. And he kind of wants to just stay silent. He wants to stay out of anybody's way. He wants to stay out of the public eye. He doesn't want anyone to really notice him. He wants to just kind of exist. The people there recognize him as Teferi. They call him the Shaper because the way it works. I think we talked about this in the guilds of the Mirage story. But did we talk about that?
We may have. I actually didn't like the story, so I wasn't too into it.
That's fair. It was. I mean, it was relatively lackluster because they didn't really go a lot into it. Uh-huh. I feel like they've had the opportunity in a lot of cases to actually get the. They've had a lot of opportunities to make.
And they tried to make it relevant again with that one core set that was based around Teferi.
It's true, and it was really good.
We also talked about in that story, but and that was a good set, but
yeah,
Not a very compelling story. Like, that story needs a revamp. Or, like, a return, like this.
Yeah, exactly. And so, essentially what we have is that there are the 5 guild mages. 5 guilds. You have the Civic Guild, the Shaper Guild, the Shadow Guild, the Armorer Guild, and the Granger Guild. Civic is white, Shaper is blue, Shadow is black, Armorer is red, Granger is green.
Granger knows how to enunciate their spells.
I get it. But yeah, those. And fun fact: those were actually the original guild mages as far as the cards, the cycles. After that, they had the Ravnica guild mages with Azorius, Demir, Rakdos, that whole thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then we also, of course, had the guild mages from Return to Ravnica and Gate Crash, where it was whatever the major not continents, but like the areas where they were like leaders, like Nivix, Vitu-Ghazi, Rixmadi, Nuprov. And then you had the Guilds of Ravnica ones, which were all just based on the actual group themselves, what they call themselves. So like the Senate.
The Conclave.
The Conclave, the Clan. So those are all the Guild Mages.
That's a cool cycle.
Yeah, and it started with the Mirage cycle of the Guild Mages.
I like that.
So that's why there's that connection. They're all monocolored.
This is magic. Guild Mages should probably be important.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what happens is that Teferi is living there, and he's living as a Shaper. So they respect him, they honor him, that whole deal. But at the same time, again, he wants to be silent. He doesn't want to do anything. And while he's there with all the fishers and such, there's basically a group of soldiers that show up. And he's like, okay, you know what? I had a feeling they were going to execute me eventually. It was going to catch up to me. I'm skipping over a good chunk of stuff. This is actually a really interesting story. I highly suggest you read through it. It's just that it's very slow paced, and it kind of it's a lot of the same stuff kind of happening. People trying to help Teferi realize that he can help, that he's not just somebody who messes things up, and helping him to kind of find his stride. And it's Adia is the person who's basically trying to pull him out of his funk that he's been in.
That was one of the Guild Mages, right?
Yes, actually.
I already made the reference to Final Fantasy VIII, right?
You might have.
Okay.
Interesting. So basically what happens is that there's a guy named Jabari. Sidar Jabari is what he's known as. He has a card. It's an old card. And Jabari's like, Teferi Planeswalker, old friend, welcome. And he hugs him. And he's like, I was not expecting this. Because like he went, he washed, he put on new robes. He was prepared to be taken in as a prisoner. And then it's a friend that shows up, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "I've been better." And he even tells him, I'm just Teferi Akosa now. Akosa is Teferi's actual last name, which I don't recall ever knowing.
Had a named card.
Yeah, so it's really cool that he's Teferi Akosa, or Akasa. I don't know how it's pronounced. Niambi is how it's supposed to be pronounced.
We've been saying Nyambi.
Yes, okay. Niambi. We had a comment that helped us to figure out how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Oh, so, thank you.
Yeah, that was great, and I really appreciate that. Niambi. I'm trying to say it right. I'm probably still messing it up, but I'm doing my best. Sorry. So, basically, Teferi's recognizing that everything is terrible because he still separated Zhalfir from everything. He still doesn't know how to fix it. All these things are problems. And he's like, well, they're going to, like, the queen wants to be dead. I know that. It's okay. She can do what she's got to do.
Queen his wife?
No, it's Queen Wesna.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Wesna. I'm not sure. But Jabari's
his wife is from a different land.
Yeah, and she's already dead.
Okay.
Yeah, she died of old age.
In slow time water?
No. Oof. Yeah. Well, there's no more slow time water because it got obliterated.
How did Naomi get slow time water?
She didn't. She's old.
She doesn't look old.
She's like in her 40s. She just ages well.
How did he have her so late?
What do you mean?
I would ask for a timeline, but we're talking about a time mage. That sounds... Go on.
Time is relative. So yeah, basically Jabari's like, yes, she will want to kill you. But first, you have to help us. And he's like, help you with what? He's like, let's just go to the actual, like, capital and we'll talk about it. And so...
It's like, help us get back to reality.
Yeah, exactly.
There goes gravity. Ferry's just like, once we get back to reality, I'm poofing because I will have helped you guys. And you're going to kill me.
True. So basically what happens is that they're calling Teferi to Aku. Aku being the actual place. No, it's not Aku. No, it's Aku, the city, which is basically where they stay.
Ricky's gonna meet Aku at Comic-Con.
Oh my gosh.
Dressed as Iroh.
Yeah. It's gonna be great.
We need to find pants for that cosplay.
Hello, pants. That's gonna be interesting. But the main thing here is hello. It's true, we do need pets. Pets are important in general in meeting people. But basically, he's worried because apparently something's going down in Aku, and they're expecting, oh, it must be Karavik. Aku is where they keep all the amber prisons. And so he's thinking, okay, Karavik's out. He's causing trouble. We got to deal with it. And he's like, is it Karavik? And he's like, no. There was this woman of regal bearing. We threw her into amber as well. But before we did, she asked specifically for you.
Wondering why I'm laughing. Ricky Sasafi has just roared at me, but he just prioritized to continue the story.
I'm sorry. So, and this is great. It says, a woman of regal bearing. He knew too many. Could Kaya or Sahili have devised some way to cross the void and reach Zhalfir? How long had it been outside of this space? Time inside this place passed differently than time outside of it. He knew that well enough by now, but perhaps they had rebuilt the anchor. Maybe they had found Karn or sent this other planeswalker as he had been sent, but in a way that they could reel them both back. Well, describe her to me. Well, she's young, but with white hair, a thin sword, fine golden armor. The lore masters tell me that she looks Madarin. Also this, he looked past Teferi and whistled to one of his soldiers, gesturing for him to come over to them. The soldier, who had been carrying a cloth-wrapped object, hustled over. He bowed and offered the cloth to Teferi and Jabari. Teferi took it, and inside was an exquisite, wide-brimmed hat. It was armored in glossy lacquered gold and green, light but sturdy, balancing defense and ornament.
Really?
Who is it, Joe?
Is that the Wanderer?
The Wanderer. A good hint is that they said it looked like she was from Madara. Madara is actually where the Umezawan line wound up in, I remember at the end of Kamigawa?
Racist.
It's more so that they're just recognizing that she is most likely Japanese. And that is the Japanese continent on Dominaria.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, she thinks she's Japanese.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't remember where
Madara was.
Where what's his face got sent, Toshi.
Yeah.
But no, what got me was hat.
Hat, yeah. Hat.
Hat.
I hate it. Anyways, basically, Teferi's like, it's good for wandering. And it's like, yeah, okay, this is exactly who this is. And he's like, how does she get here? Which is a good question. But you can guess that most likely...
Somebody who's not anchored found a place that's not anchored.
Yeah, in addition, it's during the time when the Realm Breaker is currently shattering everything. So the Blind Eternity is already getting wonky. And then somehow the Wanderer essentially got stuck in the sand trap of time. And so now that the Wanderer is here, this whole story continues. And Teferi gets to Aku. And the Amber prisons, some of them have been broken. And one of the ones that was broken was Karavek's. So now we have Karavek on Dominaria causing problems as well. Well, at least on Zhalfir. But it's the idea is that he's going to be causing problems in the future. And so
they're just setting up villains with this epilogue here.
Yeah, pretty much. And so they basically make it all the way to the area. They meet a bunch of civic guards. The whole thing happens. And
Karavek joins that little Legion of Doom because
the thing is that, yeah, because again, the creatures are going, like legendary creatures will actually be able to go between planes now, is the expectation.
So that's how they're changing up magic.
That's the expectation.
You're going to see other villains that weren't supposed to be on other planes.
Exactly. One major one I'm expecting is to see Baron Senger on Innistrad. And I think that would be really interesting to see.
That would be.
Because the whole idea of Olivia being like the home team, and they're just being this war happening between the two of them. Baron Senger would also be interesting on Dominaria, of course.
Do the Markovs still exist there?
The Markovs are basically just like absorbed into
the Voldarans now?
Yeah, I would expect.
Wait, so the wedding was a success?
That's the thing, is that it was supposed to be a magically binding thing, but it kind of got ruined, and it was unclear if it actually panned out.
Is that why we didn't go over it? Because it wasn't that...
Yeah, it was kind of just...
It also wasn't that entertaining.
Yeah, and we just...
And it didn't make too much sense.
There wasn't much for it, which wasn't good. Anyways, it then talks about this whole thing happening with Jabari, Queen Wesna, Teferi, and they kind of just all decide, yeah, we need to work together. And then they throw the Wanderer out of her amber prison. She freaks out. She's about to like fight, and then Teferi's like, hi, it's me. I'm here. Don't worry. Here's your hat. And so it says that after this all happened, he says the anchor failed. he says, how? Ceres' power stone, the potential of a plane, shunted through him, something to do with the Silex. That space that he and Urza went to after detonate, all that potential had to go somewhere. Had to find something to cling to. Chance, fate, or some combination of the two. And the Wanderer's like, we might not even have the day. Because, again, she's there as everything is happening with the Phyrexians. And it says that her form flickered, shuddering. She was losing her hold on the plane. And Queen West is like, what do you mean? She goes, new Phyrexia's invasion is upon us. And she says, our attack was scattered across the plane. Nisa's gone. I think we're too late. I don't think we can stop them. So Nisa's gone. She most likely...
this is after she poofed into the Luca Nisa thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's moments from this whole idea. She saw Nisa get taken out. During that whole exchange, we also started to see the whole thing with the omen paths opening up. So it's all connected.
So she poofed in long enough to know what was going on.
Yes.
But also those seconds were probably like days or weeks in Zhalfir.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so now it says that he could never wash this land away. He could never be alone. Eshi, who had weathered the ages. Oyana, who looked at danger with bravery. Adia, who longed to build a peaceful future. Subira, whom he had loved and whom had loved him. Niambi, whom he loved and who loved him. Zhalfir, with whom he stood, father of the creeds, father of a nation. Because Teferi is the one who set Zhalfir up. It's not too late. He says, a fierce grin spreading across his face. The Phyrexians probing through the multiverse had awoken something that their machine minds would learn to fear. Teferi, who would show them that the sun rises in Zhalfir. So, essentially, Teferi goes through this whole awakening kind of thing, kind of finding himself, realizing that even though he made mistakes, even though he did the things and ruined things the way Urza did, even though he was a reckless planeswalker, he is better than Urza. He's his own person. He has the ability to make right what he did wrong. And after all of this, he now has a standing army that was specifically set up to fight Phyrexians.
He just Tenzin'd.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's basically how Teferi's story ends. This is the end of the story that we have so far, right before March of the Machines comes in. The next few episodes, we're going to actually have...
If I may step in.
Oh, okay.
You need to see the wonders of Phyrexia, and who better to show them to you than...
Then who? Then what? Are you not part of a KISS cover band? You look like you're part of a KISS cover band.